welcome back to ScrivTalk. I'm Liana George, your host for this interview session with one of our Scrivenings Press authors. I'm also an author and the co-owner of Scrivenings Press. And as we do on this channel, we just like to give you a behind-the-scenes glance at our authors, their books, their writing journey, and of course, and a little peek into their personal life. So we're glad you're here with us today. And we're going to be chatting with Denise Colby. Uh, she has her new book, No Plans at All, which is a heartfelt historical novella, which is part of her Best Laid Plans series. Here to talk with us about the book and give us some insights. So, hello, Denise, and welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're
Appreciate that.
here. Yeah, so for those of our audience and viewers who are watching or listening, they may not be familiar with you. So, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Let's see. I'm a mom. I've been a wife for 30 years. I am a mom of three boys and recent daughter-in-law. So that's a new chapter for us. I work during the day. I work as a marketing I guess consultant for a drainage company that I've been doing for several years. And I've been working on this writing journey for about 12 years now, with my first book coming out last year. And I'm a Disney fan, so we live very close to Disneyland. So me and my husband go there for date nights. We've had annual passes pretty much the whole entire time we've been together. So that's really fun. And I'm trying to think. Oh, and because I danced. I was a dancer growing up, and so I danced in the parades there. So that's kind of where that started. I moved down to Southern California to get for college so that I could dance in the parade or work there. And so I did that, and so now I'm here and I'm writing. I love to read historical romance. I actually like romantic suspense and some others as well, but I would I never planned to write. I was more of a math whiz in high school than English. Grammar's not my best subject. But I would read a book and I'd be like, "Ooh, I want to write a story." And God kept nudging me. And so I just kind of listened to him a bit after fighting that for a while. And so here I am. And he's blessed me immensely with just friends and the journey and learning about myself and all that with it. So,
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there are some of us who wake up and go, I'm going to be a writer one day. But the majority of us, we come to it in a roundabout way. So that's okay.
yes,
There's no one straight line to publication, which we all know as
no.
authors, right? Yeah. So, okay, I have to tell you, we're going to talk about all your books. But I have to tell you, I love your series title because I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a professional organizer. So, of course, titles like Best Laid Plans speak to me as a former organizer. But this title, No Plans at All, oh my goodness, that's just like, it's a great title. It's very intriguing. It definitely makes you curious. But I'm going to let you know, as an organizer, it makes my skin crawl because I'm like, we don't have plans. What do you mean we're not prepared? So I know it has nothing to do with that, but I thought that little fun thing out there for you.
Hmm.
So let's start by talking a little bit about the beginning of the series because this
Okay.
is in the middle, and then you've got some more after it. So let's get our viewers caught up with where
Yes.
we're at. So start
So the
out at the
first
beginning.
the
Yeah.
first book in the series was When Plans Go Awry. That what really started all of this was I went with my oldest son to I'm in California. So we went to Sacramento for the fourth grade field trip, and you get to tour a one-room schoolhouse, and the kids get to be in class for a day and what all the rules were. And the boys sit on one side, the girls sit on the other, and you have to stand up every time you answer a question and sit back down. And in this one room schoolhouse, they had the rules that a teacher needed to follow. So, like all the things that you would get lashings for, for dirt under your fingernails, or, this. all sorts of things. And I remember looking around the classroom like, this is really fascinating. And I love history anyway. And so I'm looking at this and I'm, oh boy, to be a school teacher in that era, and back up many, many years. And I am a Little House on the Prairie fan,
Oh,
read all the novels, watched the TV show. Love Comes Softly is another series. As a kid that I grew up, my mom had bought for me. And I just love that whole concept. And so this idea was brewing in my head, and it was like, no, I don't have time to write a story. And go skip ahead 2 years. I'm with my next son, the same field trip,
oh.
back in the same one-room schoolhouse. And the story idea is still floating around in my head. And it's like, well, maybe I could do this. And so that's kind of where it started, was I really wanted to get that vibe of a one-room schoolhouse. What was it like for a teacher? There were rules. You couldn't date. You couldn't, well, date. You couldn't be courted. You
Mhm.
couldn't be, just all those different things. And what would happen? And so I started asking questions and doing some research. And I stumbled onto a school in Cincinnati that was started by Harriet Beecher Stowe's sister, Catherine Beecher, who actually, her whole philosophy was about training women to go out in the wild to train the youth. That was kind of her whole thing. So I decided I wanted, and I love series. So it's like, I'm going to have 5 women go west. But west back then was more like Montana,
Right.
Wisconsin. But I went really west because I was familiar with Sacramento and that area. I grew up in Napa, and I thought it would be really fun to land them all in different areas. And so that's kind of where I started, and they got there, and they all had a different reason for why they needed to leave their situation
Mhm.
and end up doing this, leaving everything that they knew to become that. So the first story is Olivia, and she had her own reasons of why she left. But her whole thing was, I'm going to be a teacher the rest of my life, be a spinster, and not ever uh, want a man in my life. And so that's where that introduction was. But of course, she lands in Washington with lots of things that she assumed wouldn't happen. And then Luke is the hero in that, and they fall for each other through a lot of mishaps and things. So sorry, I talk with my hands, but
It's okay. So do I.
um, so that's where that came from. And so then book 2, which just released in May of this year, is actually Jenny's story. She's the second teacher. This story, this novella, is actually a prequel. In the story of the first story, Luke has a reason. He sends for a mail order bride, which is not Olivia, it's someone else.
Okay.
And I don't want to give away the
No, no
the secrets
spoilers.
and all of
Yeah.
that, but there were reasons why. Um, and I reveal this situation that happens kind of 3/4 of the book way through, where he's like, I am not opening my heart to anybody. This other girl left me, da 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 da. Well, the other girl is Sarah, and she had her own reasons for why she needed to leave.
Mm.
And I needed to write that scene to help make sure I understood both sides to
Mm.
get it right.
Yeah.
And as I was writing it, I'm like, oh, there's a whole story here about her reasons. Cause I had her running away with a peddler.
Yeah.
Like, she just leaves town, which back then you don't just leave town with someone. There's a lot at risk for that.
Sure.
And so that's her story. So it's a couple years earlier, set 2 years earlier than the first book, but it answers where she went.
Okay.
So it's kind of a side journey, which I
Okay.
keep doing this. I keep writing all these stories, and I'm like, oh, I could do more with this, and oh, I could do more. So I have lots of ideas for more stories
It's okay.
in this whole world I've created,
Yeah,
which
and
is
there are
super
some
fun.
people who do that, right? They write 9, 10, 12 books,
Yeah.
After book 3
And
for
the
me, I
other
was done.
And the other thing is, so I was reading a ton of Regency. I love that era. Terrified to write in it because readers can be
Mhm.
very specific on what they're looking for and what they want, and knowing all the rules. And even though when I read them, I know the rules, writing them's a whole other game. So, but I really wanted to try writing a hero that was nobility. And so I stumbled on making a Scottish hero that is not in Scotland, but here.
Uh-huh.
in the United States, but he's hiding. And that's kind of where, and so it was a NaNoWriMo one year, and I decided to go ahead and write this whole story. And that's kind of where that came from.
Okay.
Granted, I had to rewrite it when I was editing and all
Yeah.
of those things, but that's kind of where that came from.
Oh, fun, fun. It's great. I mean, once you get these characters and people in your world, you just keep going on and on and on until you
And then no,
point.
you asked about the title, the no plan at all. She just leaves one night. So she doesn't have a plan because she's terrified out of her mind to be stuck, married to somebody who isn't who she planned to marry and all of that. And so by her just leaving, she doesn't have a plan.
Mm,
And so that's where that
I
came
like that.
from.
I like that. So,
Hmm.
all right. So that just makes me wonder, are you an organized person? Like, do you like plans?
I used to be, and I would get disappointed,
Mm,
or those sorts of things. And so then I didn't plan as well. But I am a planner, but not. Like you have to learn to adapt,
you absolutely
because things change.
do.
Um, it's interesting because I'm still was when I wrote this, I was still learning my writing process. So I wanted to apply some of the new things I learned, but I think I'm still a pantser. The last book, or this next one that comes after this one, I
Uh-huh.
tried to plot and it kept changing.
Oh,
So either A, I need to learn how to plot better, or I'm just a pantser and I need to know the characters and let them just tell me what's going on because
Yeah.
that
And I
I
imagine it takes a while to figure that out, right? Especially when you're new.
mhm.
I mean, of course, being the organized person I am, I have to just plot everything. I just can't fly by the seat of my pants. But I think you just kind of have to find your best way to do it. And once you find it, then it's natural and you just go with it. And that's
Mhm.
the way the best writing comes out. So yeah.
Yeah, I also think that being a mom, you learn to adapt, and as many plans as you make, you have to pivot very quickly. So I think I'm both.
Yeah.
I am a planner. I think ahead of things. A lot of times I would plan things out, and um my husband's not there yet. And then he'd check in like, okay, what's going on tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, can we do it this way instead? And I've already had thought through. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
need to both.
I hear you. I used to be as firm, like if it's not on the calendar a week ahead of time, it's not on the calendar, right? And then of course, you grow up, you have kids, life changes and things like that. And now my husband can go, "Hey, do you want to go here this weekend?" And I'm like, "Sure, let me go pack a bag and just walk out the door."
Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Well, that actually happened last week because we had a free night with our Marriott points that we wanted to use before they expired.
Yeah.
And in our text back and forth, I had said Thursday night, meaning this coming Thursday night, and he
Uh-huh.
had booked it last week. So we
Oh.
get done with dinner with our son, and he goes, "Okay, you ready to go?" And I'm like, What?" And I actually pivoted pretty quickly. So we went and ran away for a night,
Oh,
very
good for
short,
you.
short term, but it was nice. It was
Yeah.
good to have that time, kind of an escape.
Oh, that's good.
So,
That's good. Well, I'm sure we could just keep talking about plans and organization
yes.
and all that kind of stuff, but I know the readers and the viewers want to listen about the book. So,
Okay.
okay, so let's talk about your characters, Sarah Ann and Alex. Uh,
Yes.
they're just really rich, layered people, both running from their past, but in different ways.
Hmm.
So, what do you love most about each of them?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I always like writing the male point of view.
Do you?
So I wanted a very stable, secure in his faith hero,
Hmm.
which I think he is. Um, I, I don't, and I like that about him, that he sees the good in people, and he has a servant's heart. So what looked like him being this traveling peddler, very fun or whatever, he had purpose behind what he was doing. um, and I think I really liked having that out. I had a lot of fun writing his brogue. um, but it was harder than I thought it would be too.
Yeah,
Because the more I did research, I'm like, no one's going to understand that if I put those words in. And
right.
so I
Yeah.
needed to use just a few here and there. Um, And oh, another side note, because again, as we talk about writing other stories, my husband and I actually, my son was traveling, was studying abroad in the spring. And so we actually went to Scotland in May,
Fun.
which was super fun for me to do research after I wrote the story, but to learn more about the culture and all of that. And I introduced in the story his whole family that's still in Scotland. And so
Mm.
now I have all these ideas for their family
Family
members and
members.
everything
Ah, yeah.
there,
There you go.
um, which was super fun to just understand that a bit more and how to apply that. But yeah, I think that it was really fun learning about his name and what it could mean. I didn't want to write a real person, but I used the Sinclair name as his last name because it's a very popular Scottish name.
Mm.
And one of the really cool things, I'll just share this because I have this with me. So when I was in Scotland, you can find the crests related to names. And
Right.
I found the Sinclair crest. And people who have read my stories know that I have a crazy rooster named Bert in my first two books.
Uh-huh.
And so the crest for the Sinclair name actually is a rooster on it,
Oh, wow.
which I really was just like, okay, God, the way you connect dots sometimes that
That's
you
so
just don't
cool.
plan out, right? It just
Yeah.
happens. And the whole thing, the theme is commit thy work to God. And that is what Alex is doing is he's working for the Lord and serving as a peddler in this, out and about. And just the tie-in for that was something really cool. So I was super excited. My husband's like, what are you doing? And I'm
I
like, I
love
have to buy
it.
this. I have to really buy this.
Yeah.
So that was super a fun connection about him and just the name and solidifying how it fit.
Hmm.
So for Sarah, she definitely has some loss in her life that she needs to understand and figure. And she's still very young, so um, I think that he is a really good person to help speak into that, but also give her room, to figure out some things too.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers all your questions
That's
or not.
great. That's great. No, I mean we're going to talk about it more in depth.
Okay.
So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about her journey, going from feeling like a burden to discovering her worth and faith again. So that's, always moving for people who are, especially people who enjoy clean or Christian fiction. So how did her transformation mirror her spiritual growth as you wrote it?
Well, I think that as she started talking with God more, as
Hmm.
she opened her heart to hear, to a relationship with God,
Hmm.
it gave her a peace.
Mm.
And one of the things that I do in the story is she gets motion sickness
Mm.
in being in a wagon.
Oh, that's a
That was
problem.
actually that was a thing back then. You really could get motion sickness in a wagon.
Wow.
And she
Okay.
didn't think about that. All of these things that was not her plan. She just needed to escape. But now she's traveling and he travels hours, like, each day going to a new place. And she's trying to hold it in and not, and that what was one of the things that I paralleled was when she felt peace with God, her stomach settled down
Mhm.
as she was traveling. And I felt that, right? We're stirred up. When we're stirred up, because we're not connected to God, we're not leaning on Him to
Mhm.
guide us or to calm us in any situation that pops up, we get an upset stomach or we can't eat or we want to eat or we just do all of those things. But the peace that He can give us just by us um, praying and being present with Him,
Mhm.
no matter what the turmoil or what's going on, I think can help us navigate that. So that was one of the things that I had done in the story, not to give away too much, but I felt that was when that came up and I could write that, I was like, that works. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things there. And I think that she was fearful. I mean, like I said, all the different loss and things. I think people just need to read the story
Of
to
course, they just need
understand
to read the
part of
story.
that. Yeah, right.
Of course, yes.
So
Yeah. Okay. No
yeah.
worries. No. And I think, and I talked about this with somebody the other day about how, as authors, we're writing the story, but there's so much more layers to the story, then that the reader really just doesn't quite understand. And we try to parallel, like you said, but sometimes they're just reading at surface level, right? And we know as an author, that there's more meaning, more context to just maybe a sentence or a paragraph than they may just really see. So I always love to hear how authors, what they were thinking as they were trying to get across to the readers. So that's always really
You,
cool.
you know, it's interesting. I never purposely set out for this, but people have said this about is that a lot of times I end up building the hero and the heroine together with a similar need or want, or like, but different,
Mm,
and yet they're at the same place at the same time, and I don't intend to do that, but I just do. It just kind of, it's like a layer, and they both then can help each other
mm,
through that journey.
yeah,
And it's not something I purposely do. It's just kind of, as I think, oh, they'd be a good fit. And then the more I explore them and figure them out, that the more that comes to be. So there's a line in one of the scenes where, she's running, and he knows that she's running. Um, but he's running too.
mm,
And he didn't really realize it because you know, and then by some of the things he's challenging her on, and her answer, he's realizing now the ripple effect of his choices and leaving home, and what that might have done because of what she's doing too. And so that opened his eyes a little bit to his journey.
yeah.
And I don't intend for that, but I love it when it works,
Yeah, right.
And I think,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like God had it all planned out. So, and and it's a natural flow. And that's when the story's going the right way.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about Alex because he hides his identity to find out who he truly is. And that's such a relatable struggle. So, what do you think readers will connect with most about him and his search for identity and purpose?
Well, one of the reasons why I hid his identity is because a lot of people take stock in a name, or they take stock in a position.
Mm-hmm.
And he was tired of, in his oh, did I freeze? There we go. Okay, sorry. He was tired of being, because of him being in nobility,
Mm-hmm.
everything he did was watched, or there was always someone there to serve him. And
Mm-hmm.
he didn't want that. He wanted to figure out who he was. And so he had partnered with his dad with, hey, let me go do this while, the bride you assigned me, from an arranged marriage,
Right.
grows up, and let me go do this for a while. And I think for him, um, he likes the I can't even speak this. I can spell the word, but I can't say it. Anonymity, anonymous, being
Anonymity.
anonymous.
Yes, being
Yeah.
anonymous. That works.
Okay, that works. He likes that because there's no expectation, but yet he can serve and, meet others' needs, and do some things without figuring that out. And later, when it all comes to light, the way that both Sarah and her brother will respond, and once they find out, that reaction, and he says, that's exactly why. I'm not trying to lie. I'm not trying to be sneaky. It's just, I don't want to be treated differently.
Yeah.
And that was an important piece to him. I think for him, though, at the same time, it was starting to wear on him about hiding who he was, that he couldn't, he is a mixture of both. And we need to be true to ourselves
Yeah.
no matter what we do. And I think that he had to figure that out, and own both of who he was, and
Yeah.
not be afraid, because God can use him in either
Sure.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's so many of us are trying to hide things. I mean, I know I did for so long. And, eventually it comes out, it
I
eventually
tell my kids this all the time. The truth always
comes out.
is there.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
yes.
Might as well. Yeah. Might as well live up to it. So I love that. That's great. Well, let's talk about the chemistry between these two,
Okay.
because it just feels authentic. It's faith forward, but also emotionally engaging. So how do
Oh,
you
yay.
balance romance and faith and spiritual depth in a way that feels natural? Because a lot of times it can feel forced. And readers
Yes.
know that, and they can sense that. But yet, in your story, it really felt very natural. So, how did you craft that?
Um, I don't know. I've come up when I write a scene, I try to write, I have these little questions I ask myself before I write the scene. And one of them is, what are they feeling right now? And so I try to put myself in their shoes and go, okay, what's going to happen? And I just let that flow
Mm-hmm.
and come out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, it's like, okay, this is not how, if it's, I can't force it. It has to be. But one of my favorite things is to write banter between, and maybe that's because of all the books I read. I read, I love banter between the
Yes,
characters, kind of where there's a hidden appreciation or attraction or that sort of thing. And I hope that that comes through when I'm writing as well. So that's one of the things that I do enjoy. And I think that I don't even know. I can't tell you how I do it. I just kind of
that's
I
okay.
do yeah.
I
I
mean, we're
just
always curious as to how authors do that, right? I mean, like in romantic suspense, I'm always like, okay, is it the suspense first, or is it the romance first, or? And so yeah, every author has their own little way of doing things. So, it's just a fun way to kind of get inside our brains a little
I,
bit.
th- I think the faith elements is, I mean, granted, I am not always the best of searching for God first and making sure you're going to pray. I mean, I think that's a daily why we have quiet time and all of that. I think that, but in an ideal setting, this is I try to, if put all that in. There's parts of me, I guess, that comes through in that.
Absolutely.
One of the big things, prayer journaling is a big deal to me. And so when I started this series, I wanted really, it was it was important for me to, especially with the first book, When Plans Go Awry, to have the Olivia, her journal, which was just a journal, turn into a prayer journal. And
Mm.
I wanted to illustrate how simple a prayer journal could be. And in the midst of all of this, I had read a book called The Story of With
Oh,
by
yeah.
Alan Arnold.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, I feel this nudging, and God's saying, you need to write a page for your website that's about prayer journaling.
Mm.
And so I designed a page and I designed some pages that somebody could, and took pictures and explained step by step how to start a prayer journal. And I hadn't finished the story yet. But with that helped me realize, oh, I could do a journal entry with every chapter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I could do, all of it. And it just kind of kept unfolding as I went. And so I want that to be kind of my trademark
Mhm.
of journal entries. And so this book was the first time I had, because all the women teacher were given a journal when they were at their school for training.
Mhm.
So they're always going to have their journal be the one with the entries. But this was one where he's documenting his life,
Oh, okay.
and I could write it from his perspective. So I had to mentally get in his head and be, how does a man write a prayer journal, and how would they do an entry? And they wouldn't be all like, fluff or more or whatever. And that was super fun for
Oh,
me.
I
But
bet.
that's one of the elements that I really am being purposeful about in
Mhm.
my stories, is the prayer journaling and showing that faith arc. And there has to be a growth
Yeah.
from the beginning to the end in all the cases. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's important.
Yeah. And I prayer journal. So that is near and dear to my heart. And actually, I even introduced it in I think it was my first, because my three books are consecutive, right? They're not three
Uh-huh.
different characters. It's Nikki all the way through. And in book one, she gets to her destination, and it's, of course, nothing is going the way she had thought it would go. That's why it's called Perfectly Arranged. And she calls her mom, and her mom's like, well, you just need to pray. She's like, it's just so hard. The words just don't come out. She goes, and then write them. Get a journal and write them out.
Mhm.
And so that's what she does. Now, I don't. share the journal part in there, but that was a little bit of me in the book because
Yep.
that's how I best. And I can go on a walk with my dog and I can talk to God, but the nitty gritty, where the rubber meets the road, it comes out in my prayer journal.
Hmm.
That's where it's just totally different. So I love that you do that because I absolutely love prayer journaling. So that's
It helps me focus when I do that, and I can tell my day doesn't go as smoothly when I don't.
yes.
Just all of those things. An interesting fact, when I look at the stats for my website, it is my most hit page. So it comes up in the search
Oh,
and people
great.
find it.
Yeah.
And I just got a message from someone who said they found my page, and I just got this on Friday. Um, they found it, and it helped explain to them. It gave them a more basic way of doing things, and it was something that helped them get started, and they were thanking me for it. And I just
Oh,
thought that's what
that's
it was all
awesome.
about.
Yeah, it is. It's what it's all about, right?
Hmm.
You sometimes get
Hmm.
so frustrated and we can wonder if what we're doing is making a difference, right? But then we get little notes like that or an email and you're just like, oh, okay, it is. So,
And right now, it's amazing when you have a new book launch how vulnerable you feel.
yes,
You're trying to build your social media to promote it, and then you're putting it out there, and you want people to like it, and you just know that it's not going to be for everybody, and all the things. But man, it's hard, and
it
so I
is.
just feel very vulnerable right
Yeah.
now with the launch of it. I'm like,
Yeah.
so to get that was actually a really good encouragement for
Yeah.
me.
Just a little bit of a God reminder. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Well, since we've been talking about faith, let's talk a little bit more about the faith in the book. So, one of the strongest threads in No Plans at All is learning to trust God's plans even when life feels uncertain. So, what do you hope people or readers will take away from that message?
It's funny, and I'm sure you have this too when you write. I've already finished the next book, and then the next one. So I'm like, and I know I've proofed this recently, and I'm like, okay, I need to remember where I was when I was writing this and what,
Yeah,
and trying to
absolutely.
remember. So it's like, let's go back. I think that even when you don't have a plan, even though when you don't know what you're doing, if you are connected to God, if you are praying to Him and being open and willing to go where He's nudging you and leading you, I think that then the plans are going to, one step at a time, are going to open up with where he'd like to direct you. Now, the thing is that I think sometimes God can give us two different, very viable options, and the decision is up to us. And a lot of times we don't want to make that decision. We want it to be easy and we want it to be clear. And those decisions are not that way. Um, and that's not easy to follow either. And so I just wanted to show, again, to be something different than the other two books. But yet it's all related to God's plans are better than our own. And that's the overall why it's best laid plans is, but yet trying to do something a little different with each story. I think in this case, for Alex, everything was planned out for him. Like he didn't really have a say. So he was trying to own manage what he could in this, and so then when things opened up he could make a choice, and we all know where that choice went, right? And so, but for Sarah, she didn't have a plan. She had completely walked away, not walked away, but just been so busy and so consumed with all the grief and all the things that she was struggling with.
Mhm.
She didn't have time. Hadn't made time for God, and it wasn't a priority. And in that, I mean, granted, the book happens over just 7 days. So,
Yeah.
uh, but in that time, having that time for faith, having that time for prayer, time to reflect, I think that's an important piece of the element too. If we do not reflect, and that's where prayer journaling, I think, comes in too, is asking ourselves questions, reflecting back, and kind of looking and realizing, oh, I could have handled that better. Or maybe, and then asking for forgiveness, and then forgiving ourselves, like all of those things, they matter. I think that plays into the faith choices that then they can move you forward
Yeah,
with.
And that's all, yeah, that's so very true. That's great. But I did notice that you closed the novella with Psalm 55:16. Cast your cares on the Lord and he will sustain you. Why did that verse feel like the perfect anchor for this story?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think part of it is you're searching, like there's a topic, and so I'll do some research to see which verses fit that. But I think that's a big one for me because when we give our cares over to God,
Hmm.
that's where that peace comes in. We're not alone.
Yeah.
We are not alone in that. He is with us and he's carrying us through. We may not know it. It's like that one where there's only one set of footprints in the
Yes.
sand
Uh-huh.
because he's carrying you, through that. I think that's what I vision with that.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that's kind of where that comes from. So
Yeah.
I, yeah.
Okay. I love it. I love that verse. It's um because it's the cast. think it's for me the word cast. And I would have to go look up what the true, Hebrew word for that is.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, cast is, just throw it out there. Big, small, whatever. Just give it all to him. Don't be afraid. Go boldly, in confidence that he hears and he's okay handling your big questions.
Big and small. I think a lot of
Absolutely.
people sometimes hang on to them and think, I'm not going to bother him with this, or I'm not going to, but
Yeah.
then you hold it in and it just builds up into something bigger.
Yeah.
And that for sure can play into it too. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I had a thought, but I lost it. That's not unusual either.
that's okay. That happens to me all the time too. That's why I have to write things down.
Yes, it does. So, was there a moment during the writing process when that truth of letting go and trusting God hit you personally? Because I know that, we write these, but we're writing from a place from deep within us. So, was there a time when that happened to you that maybe there was something? And you don't have to go into all the specifics, but
I don't know. I probably, so when I first wrote the first draft of this was many years ago. So
okay.
yes, there probably was some of that in there. Um, but I also think as I'm older and I've lived through things,
Hmm.
um, some of those truths stick with you more
Hmm.
and you want to be able to share them. So there may not be something specific right now going on, but I know that that was a truth that hit me during and I'm like, oh, this is perfect to fit in this story with these characters, to be able to share that with others.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I talked about this on several author interviews that I've done is, even though the book's coming out, it has gone through months of edits and revisions and all sorts of stuff. And then, like you said, just years ago of writing that it's hard to remember everything, because now
mhm,
you're probably writing or editing or something while you're also launching, and then you got to promote the other. So it's always,
yes.
we're not just in this little you know, hold just writing away and then pop out and go, here you go. And, it's always something else going on. And so it doesn't always, can't always remember. So I hear you. I hear you.
And when I started this journey, it was like 12 years ago. And so all of these ideas for these stories and stuff, I've changed a lot in those 12 years.
Yeah.
Um, and so, you know, what's important to me, what's not, uh, and all of that. But these stories still can resonate because they're young and I have to go back to my when remembering when I was young and
Yes.
how naive I was about things and things I didn't know. And you have to go through life in some of these things in order to learn them.
Yes.
So I think that I try to do all of that too with these characters.
I love what you said that because when I look at my main character, because she was 26, I think, in the book, and I wrote it when I was 50. And so, I had to think back to what I was like at that age.
Hmm.
Because we want our stories and our characters to be true and to
Hmm.
resonate. And, we just can't just write fluff because readers will read right through it, and they'll call
Yeah,
us.
and there's been some writing sessions I've been a part of with, those of us that are older and, do you write older characters? Do you not? It's like we've all been that age, but in that, I've always enjoyed reading, and for historical, most women marry young,
Yes.
so there's it'll be to be older will be more on the rare side,
Hmm.
unless you're writing, and so that's why I've gone with that. But the older I get, the more I feel like there's this gap.
There's a gift.
Oh, I'll keep writing there, as long as it works. So,
Yeah, as long as it works, as long as it works. So, all right. Well, writing a novella, because you're condensing this down, you have to pack a lot of heart into fewer pages. So, what was the biggest challenge for you, or maybe the surprise about writing in a shorter format?
I tend to like the depth of characters for a longer book. So, definitely there was more that I had ideas for that it
Mhm.
was like, oh, I can't do that. I have to get to the faith, the arcs. I had to get to them faster,
Faster. Hmm.
and as much as I could have added more challenges and more things, it was like, nope, I have to keep it simplified. In fact, my critique group, we talked about back and forth. They felt this could be expanded to a full book,
Uh-huh.
and so I had to decide, did I want to, or did I, because I could have, there was more to it. But those could be side extra things, bonuses I could give my readers,
Sure.
or
Absolutely.
things like that. And so I just kind of, I didn't, yeah, it was different to write it. It definitely goes faster
Yeah.
when you're writing it this way.
Yeah.
So I thought I wanted to try it and see if I could do, which I have another novella idea as well. So we'll see if I get better at that or
Yeah.
not. Um, one of my things that I wanted, when you're writing and you're learning about how the arc of a character, and they have to they have to kind of fall a little
Hmm.
bit, and so, but there needs to be enough depth to them. I know I already said that, but I was worried there may not have been enough meat. But
Hmm.
the feedback I've gotten so far, everybody seems to say that it's been okay. So,
Okay, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah, it
see.
is. It's harder to condense. I don't think people realize how much harder it is with the fewer words. Um, I've been trying to write flash fiction because I hadn't written for a long time, so I knew that a long 90,000 or 75, 80,000 was not what I was ready for just yet. So I've been trying to write these flash fiction pieces that are like 2,000 to 2,500 words, right? And I put it through Chat GPT, and it was like, well, you don't have enough depth for your characters. I'm like, it's 2,500 words. I
Yeah,
don't
right.
have time for that. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
really, really hard. So yeah, I hear you. So okay, so what is next for you? What is next after?
So the next story that comes out is The Third Teacher. That
Okay.
comes out in May of next year, and that one's called A Whole New Plan.
Oh, okay.
And that is Lydia and Will,
Mm.
which is Sarah's brother. So Will actually, and it's funny, I was writing this, figuring out some things, and I'm like, oh, Will's been my only character that has shown up in all four books.
Oh, that's cool.
In this one, because it's his sister's
Mhm.
story, and then he gets his own story, which is the next one. So I've already turned that in, and that's gonna, so Lydia's the third teacher. I would love to write, and plan to write the next two teachers as well. But another side novella that came out of the first book is the foreman Jimmy.
Mhm.
It's an older one. He's older, and I don't want to give all that away, but I'm like, yeah. So Jimmy, and if you've read it, you know who
Yep.
I'm going to do. So I'll just leave it at that. But that's going to be a Christmas novella,
Oh,
and I
fun.
haven't Christmas yet, and I thought that would be fun to write. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to brainstorm and get the depth of the characters and figuring out their behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. That's awesome. Well, good. Well, we'll
Yeah.
be looking forward to all of that. That's
Yeah. I'm
exciting. We'll
excited.
have you back on when it's time for the next one. So let's but before we wrap up all this fun that we've had for this time, um, let's just take a look at Alex because he plays the guitar and he hums hymns by the fire.
Hmm.
So if no plans at all had a theme song, what would it be?
Well, one of the songs I had him hum, which she guessed, was For the Beauty of the Earth.
Hmm.
And the reason I chose that is I actually sang that in a choir when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
And it's a beautiful song and one of my favorites. There's some personal stuff to it too. We had one of our choir members as a friend pass away, and we as a choir sang it at her funeral. I was only a freshman in high school, but
Wow.
those things stick with you.
Sure.
And so to be able to go back and find songs that I'm familiar with and whatever I got to use in that. So that might be it, for just yeah, I just feel like that would probably be a good one for
Oh,
that.
that's great. I like that. All right. So, if Sarah and Alex were sitting in a modern day coffee shop, what would they order?
Oh, I don't know. Well, they would order coffee. So
Hmm.
I had fun kind of doing that. Like they had coffee at the fire pit, when they were camping and stuff, that she needed coffee and he would make it and all of that. So back then they didn't have the lattes
The
and the
lattes and the
very,
mochas and
but
the
all that. So
espressos.
I think they would take it strong and kind of think those drinks were a little bit more too frou-frou-y or whatever. But
Oh,
they would sit there and drink coffee and kind of just have a moment, um, to just sit and process wherever
yeah.
was going, just because that's what they do by the campfire.
Yeah. Well, speaking of just, recharging, what do you do? How do you recharge personally, either creatively or spiritually? What does it for you?
That's kind of changed through the years too, I think. For me, well, definitely I love discussion and, kind of getting a chance like what we're doing today.
Yeah.
This is fun for me. It kind of energizes me. I'm both an extrovert and an introvert.
Ah, you're one of
Reading a
those.
really good story and just getting lost in characters definitely can be fulfilling for me as well. Um, uh, Spending time with my family, I love musicals and watching movies, and my oldest works in the movie industry, so we watch a lot of movies and talk about things and stuff like that. um let's see. And then I like my dark chocolate, so I eat Ghirardelli dark chocolate chips right out of the bag.
I love it. I love it.
And I'm like, if I have to give that up, that's my coffee, like
Uh,
instead. And so if I have to give that up, my husband's trying to challenge me right now on that. And I'm like, I don't know if I can. So, but yeah, those things. And a date night at Disney. My husband and I, we take date nights there and just the walking. So we get out, we get outside, we get around an atmosphere that's just fun and uplifting and encouraging. So
I
all
love
of those
that.
things.
Yeah. Well, and so we've talked about plans and the last question. Well, I do have some lightning round questions, but those are just fun. But was there ever a time when you had some plans and they didn't go the way you thought they would and because God had something better? Do you have anything that you can think of?
I do. I do. I actually, I'm like, I trying to think. I had written down, oh, I know what it was. Okay. So there was when I applied for college. I'm
Mhm.
from Northern California, and I applied for both UCLA and Cal State Fullerton. And people in California will understand that. And I really wanted to go to UCLA. And we toured the campus and all of that. And it was huge. It was massive. Um, and I didn't get in, and I was hugely disappointed.
Mm,
But I think God knew better for me
mhm.
where I needed to be. And Cal State Fullerton was definitely closer to Disneyland, closer to my goal of dancing at Disneyland. And I met people there that I took a dance class and met people who were working there and was able to get audition and stuff. And I think just the program that I was a part of, he just knew it was better for me. And that was the one of probably the bigger ones where it's like, okay, I think that, and then when I auditioned for to dance in the parades at Disneyland, it took me 3 auditions. There's like 700 people that show up for these
Wow,
auditions. It's
really?
like big. And I was overwhelmed. I came from a small studio. I was devastated because this is all I thought I ever wanted to do. And um, it took, and so I had to swallow my pride and come back and keep doing it. And I earned it. You know what I mean? It's like I had to work hard and if Ed had given it to me right away, I may not have appreciated what it was. I remember the first time turning onto Main Street in the parade, knowing my family was standing on the sidelines watching. I was crying. I mean,
Oh,
it
I
was
bet.
just, it was so impactful to be like, I did it. And one of the things that came from that was, all right, I hit that goal. Now what?
Hmm.
And that taught me something too. And be bigger, think more, so when the writing thing, this didn't come up until I was in my mid 40s, for wanting to write. And it was like, all right, is it the journey? Is it publishing? What is that goal? What am I working towards? And at any point in your life, you can pick something if God's nudged you to try it and to go for something, and he'll guide you through. So the publishing thing too, right? I mean, you meet someone, it's like, oh yeah, I spent the last 3 years working on this book and now I got this great publishing contract. And for me, it took me 12.
Yeah.
But when I look back, the timing would not have been right. I
Hmm.
was my mom, my husband and I were both booster presidents of choir and theater at school and doing all the things. And now that I've gone through the whole process of publishing a book and what you need to do in order to get it out, there's a lot
Yeah.
to it. That would not have worked. And God knew that.
Yeah.
So I think there's been a few, through my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard. It's not easy still. It's still
No.
very hard.
Yeah, it always is. It is. And I appreciate you sharing that because I hope that will be an encouragement. I have no doubt it will be an encouragement to somebody who's listening today.
Oh,
So,
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
all right. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to do what I call my lightning round questions.
Okay.
So it's usually quick answers, no overthinking. There's no
I'm
right
an
or wrong.
overthinker.
Yeah. We're a
I
kindred
just want to
spirit.
tell that.
We're a
Yeah.
kindred spirit. Okay, so the questions kind of go along a little bit with your book. So, wagon ride or train ride?
Probably a train would be a little bit more comfortable. But there's something about the train and wagon train and all of that. But, I'll add something in there. I know we're going like, I purposely set my first book in 1869 when the trains had connected the
Hmm,
United States because I didn't want her have to travel for months on a
wagon.
wagon. So I did make that decision.
That's funny.
So anyway, but okay.
Right by candle or early morning sunshine. So basically, a night owl, morning owl.
Oh, early morning sunshine.
Early morning sunshine.
That's changed. That's a new thing since I've been older, but yes.
Okay. So, a favorite comfort, a cup of tea or a hymn on the guitar?
Cup of tea.
Mm. Ah, this one's hard. Scotland Highlands or California Trails?
Oh, I don't know. I really like Scotland. Like we had a great time there. Let's do Scotland on that one.
Let's do Scotland. Okay. So, when life changes your plans, do you resist or embrace?
Both. I might resist and then embrace.
Yeah, yeah. I think we all would
There's the
probably say that.
disappointment, and then there's that, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah. So, final question. Are you more like Sarah, spontaneous and heartfelt, or Alex, steady and thoughtful?
Probably more like Sarah.
Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you, Denise, for coming on with me and chatting. And it's been so much fun. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. I know you were a little
I
nervous,
have.
so I hope
Thank you.
that was fun. Sure. So, No Plans at All is a beautiful story. Um, it releases November 4th. So just about what, 2 weeks from now? No, a week from now.
A week from now, I
Week from
just
now.
got my books, so
Oh,
that's
that's always
exciting.
exciting. Yes,
Yep,
yes.
very
So,
much so.
tell all of our viewers uh, where they can connect with you and how they can get that wonderful book and all the wonderful books you have there behind you as well.
Oh, okay. So I have a website, www.denisemcolby.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. I have Twitter as well and Pinterest, but I'm more on Instagram and Facebook. And the books are all on Amazon, or I think they'll be at barnesandnoble.com and
Mhm.
walmart.com, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, so that's where you'll find them. You can pre-order No Plans at All right now, the ebook for $3.99, which is $1 off before it releases.
Awesome.
And you could enter right now. I'm going to be giving away 2 signed copies. I'm doing a Goodreads giveaway.
Oh,
So I've never done that before. So this is new, but you could go in and enter that. So if you go find the book on Goodreads, there's a button that says enter this giveaway, and you can click on that and enter your information.
wonderful. I've done those. So much fun. So
Mhm.
that's great. Well, thanks again, Denise. We really enjoyed, and we appreciate you who have been listening to us chit chat and just have a really good time. I hope you will
Thanks for
come.
having me.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
always. And we'll have you back when your next one is ready to come out.
That'll
Um,
be great.
as always, thanks for everybody who's been watching and listening. Please continue to support our authors by subscribing to our channel and watching the other interviews. But until then, happy reading, and we will see you again on the next Scriv Talk Author Chat. Bye.
Bye.